export radio, or, wait, this is the right one?
Yeah. And if you want to, I can go through this if you want.
So it's exporting the,
You want me to go through it since I kind
Yeah.
of know what we're doing?
It's taking the list of radios out of FileMaker and exporting it to a CSV file in Excel. So all it's doing is creating an
Not
Excel
stealing
spreadsheet of
thunder.
all the
No, that's
radios
fine.
that we have in FileMaker.
Well, one of the things I was asking.
you're
for
talking
was,
about
like,
IDs,
sort of
the names,
Yeah.
serial numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wanted you to steer.
Yeah.
Right, because RM is serial number based.
Yes. So what's going to happen is this is our rental order. We've scanned out our 3 demo radios.
3 radios, okay.
What's going to happen is we had these guys add a button, export radios to RM. We're going to click that button, and then you just need to save it somewhere. And I'm just gonna name it demo file. So now we're done with FileMaker, and we're going to go to RM to program these radios for our customer.
Do I delete?
So here we are in RM.
Right when you open it.
Right when I open it, this is
Okay.
what it's going to look like. All of our radios are shown. We have the production glue order stuff in here right now, so we have 354 radios currently that has been diligently programming for us. But this is a new order, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new group so that we don't have to look at 300 radios. We're only going to look at the 3 for this customer.
Correct.
So we're going to right click in this white column where our group view is and say new group. And we're just going to name it test class, farm class, or something. As you can see already in there, we're going to actually name them for the order. Name it Stanford or Cal or 49ers or something like that that makes sense for the order so that we can track it later. But for our purposes, I'm just going to call it RM class. So I'm going to rename this file. This isn't something we're going to have to do, but the button's broken right now because it's still a work in progress. I had to put the extension on that file so we can use it, so don't worry about what I just did. So now we need to get those radios in to RM so we can program them. We're going to import that file, and it's going to look at all those serial numbers for just those radios so that we can then program them.
Oh, do you want to fix the password?
Yeah.
Or do you want to show it breaking?
So this is what that file looks like when you open it in Excel. This is important. You're going to need to get in here for now. Some important gotchas for this file. Row 2 is not read by RM. If you put a radio there, it won't read, so you might end up with 19 instead of 20 radios in your order. But this is all generated automatically. You shouldn't have to worry about that anymore. Radio alias in RM has become radio name from CPS. In the general settings, radio name is handled as radio alias in RM. What we're doing for rental is we're making it the asset tag unless the customer specifies a specific name. That makes it easier to track, because if a radio fails to program, you can see the name as the asset tag, and you can look on the table and be, oh, it's this radio that's messed up. If it was something else, it would be harder to identify because you'd have to look at the serial number or go into the menu and get the radio ID. So we can edit this and we can assign radio IDs here. If I wanted to, I could go 1, 2, 3 for radio IDs. So when I import, I don't have to do that work. When I program, the radio ID will automatically be set to 1, 2, or 3. For most of our orders, we've been doing asset tags lately, so this is another great time-saving step. And remember, you can only use numbers, you can't use a letter, which is why I dropped the R's from these. Coplug password. This is going to get us a lot until we get all of our radios on the same Coplug password. Like we have Apple radios still, we have lots of other ones. This allows us to assign the Coplug password per radio. So we can do 978 for all 3 of these, because they should be. And if not, we can change it later in RM, or we can change it in here and re-import this file. Say you have 100 radios that failed to program because the Coplug password was wrong. You can change the password in here, re-import it to change the password for all 100 radios, so you don't have to do a bunch of data entry in RM.
And the other important thing to note there too is that it won't re-import a radio that's already in there.
Right.
So if it failed, you have to delete it from RM before it'll re-import.
Right.
What about ID? Will it be able to have a repeat ID or will never repeat the ID? Let's say If you make a mistake, will it prevent you from making a mistake on the ID?
I don't think it'll prevent you from making a
No,
mistake.
you can have duplicate IDs.
Yeah, but it's
Not-
really easy to see.
Not bad because, you know,
Yeah.
if you have a repeat ID, those two radio will not work
Yeah.
in Cap
Yeah.
Plaza.
When we get RM, I'll speak to that again.
Okay.
So we're gonna save this file because we're done with what I want, and we're gonna go back to RM and now import our radios.
Yeah.
Gray box with the arrow pointing down, file to grid is what we're looking for. We'll click that guy and we'll find our file. Click on it, then just click open. And here's our 3 radios with the alias, serial number, and the group already assigned to it. Now we can't do anything with these radios until they're read into RM. I can't just program and put the coplug on I want now. RM has to know what the deal is with this radio before we can do anything. So we're gonna schedule a read job. There's a couple ways to do this. We're gonna select all the radios that we wanna read by clicking this empty gray box. And we're gonna click the orange button for the job scheduler. So this is our primary interface with radios, the job scheduler. Read is already selected, but when we wanna write, we can select write. When we're importing a CPS code plug right now, if say we wanted these on Talk Around House code plug, we have to program one. This is where we would create a configuration from that code plug. It would read the radio and say, okay, cool, we're gonna save that for future use. That's what this checkbox does, but we don't wanna do that right now, so we're not gonna do that.
And Gino, you were asking about this earlier, where's this connection method?
Right.
It says USB or the
Right.
wireless.
Right. It's gonna try and do Wi-Fi first unless it sees the cable. Then it's gonna use the cable. The job name will auto-populate if you don't give it one. It'll just do read operation current time. But for our purposes, we wanna keep track of what we're kinda doing because it makes sense when you're 100 radios deep. You wanna see what job was done on that radio last, so we're just gonna call it initial read.
Hey, you read in after they come back. You can schedule the tape.
Oh, yeah, true. Okay, so now we've done that, we're gonna click OK, and it's gonna automatically start doing the job. And you can see the status already populating. You can click on the Tasks tab down here to see what it's doing. So this job has been scheduled, and it's already gone out to the radios.
Even though the USB, the method USB was highlighted.
It's USB or Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so it's USB plus wireless
Oh,
LAN.
I didn't see that.
So it's
Okay.
both.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And then over the air would be traditional over the air or UHF through the repeater, that kind of
Okay.
thing.
So no need to change it because it's already plus.
No need to change it.
So one failed.
Right. So you know it's done because now we have this modified grid. This is the easiest way to see that you now have this populated and you have completed. This failed, so we can click on this radio, click anywhere in here. We can actually open the tasks too, I think. So this is the easiest way to get in here without going here.
What, to see why it
The
failed?
failed.
Yeah, right click.
That's what it is. No.
There. Show details?
Yeah, so right click, show details, and it's gonna tell us why it failed. Password validation, so the CodePlug password was wrong. Before you got here, we already figured out that this was an Apple radio, so we're gonna change the CodePlug password. So breadcrumbs back to radio view. Select the one that failed. The green button is the action menu, and we're gonna select reset identifier, and here you can see rewrite password, we can change that to Apple's, which was 3155. Now if I reschedule this job, it will read. Boom, now we have all 3 radios. So now we can actually program them and send CodePlug stuff out, but you'll notice the radio alias is not what we want. That's what was read off the radio. So we're gonna wanna change that.
But I thought you already imported that through FileMaker.
We did. So the gotcha here is this over here. We want this. So it's gonna auto-populate what it reads off the radio, right? So it read Motorola from the radio, so that's what it's gonna display in RM. But there's a really easy way to fix that without having to go through and typing all of these. we're gonna take our file and we're just gonna re-import it. Boom. So now it's changed those two from Motorola to the radio alias we want
Perfect.
and the radio ID we want. And it's not, and it does it per serial number. So it matches that serial number from that Excel file
Right. But
to that alias.
when you did read one,
Mhm.
it populated those radio aliases.
Yes.
When you did read two, it changed it to Motorola.
Because
Right.
It's only read, yeah.
Right, because it's going to read what's on the radio, and whatever's on the radio is going to display here when you do that read. So the only reason we're doing that and exporting it that way is to do what I just did, is to change it to what we want later. I re-import that file to change it to what I want it to be for the next customer.
Okay.
And in this case, it's our radio alias. So now that these are read, we can write to them. So I'm going to select them all, left click at the top, and it works just like Windows. You can hold down Shift all the way over. I can left click on this triangle, hold down Shift, and select the bottom ones, or I can click this gray area to get all of them, or you can hold down left Control and get one or two of them. That's not Control. Boom. Now I only have these two, etc. So we want to do all of them. So now they're all selected. We want to assign them and tell them what code plug we want to put on it. So that's what this configuration is. We can right click right here, select configuration, and let's make them Stanford. So now we can see that Stanford grad has been selected as the configuration, and you know you made the change because this modified grid shows you what's been modified on the radio. So pink means you've changed the code plug. For whatever reason, voice announcement is listed here. But it'll show you, if you tell it to update firmware, the little green, the second box from the left will be checked. You can see all the little things right here. And in the little guide I made, if you want to reference that, I pulled all this information out so you can see what we're looking for. So now let's push these to the radio. Just like reading, we're going to schedule a job. This time we're going to write. Ray, maybe you can speak to this. I don't know what switchover does, but it's always checked.
For me, it's always checked too. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's, actually no, I don't.
Okay.
That-
This is always going to be checked.
Just
Don't worry
leave
about
it
it.
checked.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's always going to be checked. So just like when we read, we want to schedule a write, so we know. Let's just say it's our demo customer, and we're going to click OK. Now, just like when we read, the job status is going to change to running. And you
Do
can.
you see anything on the radio?
Yeah, so if you
It'll
turn around.
start beeping at you. The cool part about RM2 is, sorry,
Yeah.
the cool part about RM2 is that you can see if there was a problem getting that code plug to the radio, it'll pop up, it'll tell you which radio, and then you can use the taskbar to figure out why.
Mhm.
So what I've been doing is lining up like 25 radios in a bin, and then lining up so that you can see the LED on the top, and then you can just pull them to see which ones have completed.
Yep.
Perfect.
You can come here too to this hammer, the job view, and you can get in the weeds. And you can see too, if you have a bunch of failed ones, we can actually look at our job view history. So here's, let's see, here's some failed ones. That's not a great example. So here we go. This one, it just couldn't find the radio, couldn't enable establish session with device. So it tells you why it fails.
So for that error message, I actually typically see it a lot when I do a firmware update and a code plug update, all within one job. Because what happens is it'll do the firmware and then it'll reflash the code plug on there. But the problem is it usually takes so long because it's like an 8-9 minute process that final handshake does not occur. And so what happens is the timestamps don't match up in RM to the radio. So then what you do is you just do a read back in, and then like, because most of the time you look at it, you're like, hey, firmware's done, code plug's done, but it said failed. And when you see that, it's just because that it doesn't match. And it never got that final handshake, so all you have to do is read it back in and you're good to go.
Yeah. So now these radios are done. They are ready to go to the customer with this particular configuration.
Yep, minus any physical stuff like stickers and bands.
Yeah.
Witchcraft.
Yeah.
Witchcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drop a couple
But that's
curses,
it.
you
And
know.
this works, right now it works up to 80 to 100 radios at a time is the sweet spot for us, just because we're running out of capacity. Gary and I are working on building a whole new Wi-Fi network that will allow us to do up to 1,000 radios at a time.
I'll be a rare occurrence.
It'd be rare, but that, yeah,
yeah.
but it'll cover our bases forever with that.
It's great.
So,
Dave wants me to hang out and do
Ah.
orders for next week, so
Okay.
have fun. At least it won't be as hot this time.
So at this point, we would schedule a job to write a blank code plug.
yeah,
Right, and have it say,
Yeah.
start the next day.
yeah, so if you turn these radios off, we can schedule another, we can change the configuration. Let's say let's make it production glue.
You wouldn't even technically need to.
Yeah, you can schedule a date or a
Hey,
time.
thanks,
for it.
Ray. It was good to meet you.
Hey, no problem,
I'm
man.
pretty sure we'll touch base
Oh,
in
yeah,
the future.
definitely.
Okay.
And then start after it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can change this, but, just for demo purposes, I want it to happen now, so it's just gonna sit here. It's gonna wait, waiting for device programmer, once it's done processing the code plug, for eternity, until it sees the radio again.
Yeah.
So if you turn these radios back on,
Does it automatically write
Break
it
it's
it
down?
down.
gonna, yeah, it's gonna, as soon as it sees it on the network, it's gonna start programming the radio,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
So then we won't have to screw around with trying to figure out which code plug password it is.
Yeah, that was a
Save
great
ourselves
idea.
again.
Great idea.
Takes a minute for the radios to actually
Yeah, they're
connect
kind
to the.
of, yeah, they're kind of slow, but now you can see one of them, it's
Yeah.
already seen the first one running right.
Very cool. And this works for like not just code plugs but for updates as
For
well.
firmware
for
updates, yeah,
So-
anything that's a job.
Yeah.
And there it is. So I also have, because I know most of you will brain dump this stuff. So I've been working on this for a while. Pretty much everything I've just talked about, I've put into a PDF that you can follow through. Everything I just demoed is right here as an example rental workflow. That is just step by step, as simple as I could type it out, how to do what I just demoed.
Minus the export button, because you didn't have that.
Yeah, minus the export button, because that is an addition from this week, so I'll get that updated today or Monday. But yeah, I think it's a pretty decent guide, for how to do kind of most of the stuff we need, at least from a rental perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now. It's a little awkward to navigate right now, but it's navigatable.
That's good.
Very good.
Nobody?